On the phone with me right now, the list of credentials is unreal, and he is one of the hardest working WWE superstars, in my opinion. He is a former WWE Tag Champ, former United States Champ, the current WWE Internet Champ, and a 3-time Slammy Award winner, Long Island IZ, Zack Ryder. How are you, broski?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great. We're going to talk a little bit about the event tomorrow night at the Bryce Jordan Center. By the way, tickets are still available. The whole thing gets underway at 7:30. You can visit all Ticketmaster outlets, the Bryce Jordan Center box office, or visit the website bjc.psu.edu. We'll touch on that event in just a second. I got to ask you, Zach, how did you get started in professional wrestling? How did this all come to fruition?
It's just something I loved as a kid, and I just never, ever grew out of it. You know, it was time, at the end of high school, people were going away to college, and, I convinced my parents to stay home. I went to a community college at home. I found a wrestling school, and they probably thought I was crazy, but everything worked out, and, I worked hard at it. I gave up, that whole college partying life. I never did that. I went to class and then went to wrestling school, and eventually, I got a tryout in 2006, and I got signed from there. Everything kind of worked out.
Now, you weren't always Long Island IZ in the WWE. You started off tag team partners with Curt Hawkins, and you two were aligned with the Rated R superstar Edge. How did you transition from that version of Zack Ryder to the Zack Ryder we know today?
Yeah, that version, had the long hair, it was kind of like a rock star, and I wasn't really comfortable in my own skin. That was Edge's deal, that was Curt Hawkins' deal, and I just happened to look like him. That wasn't really me. And when Edge got hurt and Hawkins and I had to separate, I knew it was my time to finally take a chance and finally try something new. I'd have to cut my hair. I'd have to just let me be me, let me be me. And that's what happened. It was my real personality with the volume turned all the way up. I'm sure you always hear it. And I mean, it's worked out. I've been doing the short hair, woo for about 4 years now.
Now, for a while there, things weren't going so well in the WWE. Were a little underutilized, let's just say. And that bothered you. You went on YouTube and you started your own show, Z True Long Island Story. How was that initially received by the WWE, and how did it eventually help you to get where you are now?
Yeah, I mean, at the time, like I said, when I was a little kid, I wanted to be this WWE superstar, and I didn't really feel like a superstar. I was on the roster, I was doing shows and stuff like that, but I was barely on TV. I didn't have an action figure. I didn't have a promotional 8x10. So I was like, enough is enough. I got to, all or nothing. And I started this show, this YouTube show, which I really didn't have a plan for it. It was just me, not necessarily complaining, but like making fun of myself and my spot in the company. I eventually added other characters, my real life friends, my dad, and little by little it was picking up steam. And I don't think the WWE even realized it was going on. That's how much they didn't care about Zack Ryder. Wow. And then the fans at the show started chanting, "We want Ryder," bringing Zack Ryder signs, and it wasn't even on the show. And I think that's what got the WWE's attention.
And as far as the action figure, my daughter got the Zack Ryder action figure for her birthday last December. It was the best birthday present she ever got. It is her favorite in her collection. I got to tell you, she loves it.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. It's a favorite of my collection, too.
Now, you've been all over the world. You traveled across the country, all over the world with World Wrestling Entertainment. What's the one single thing that you can think of that has happened to you, the coolest thing out of your entire career?
It's crazy, like you said, I've been everywhere. I've been this year I went to China, but the coolest thing I think was last November at Madison Square Garden. I mean, just because of the history that building has, and especially because I grew up going there. And again, I wasn't on the show, and the entire Madison Square Garden is chanting, "We want Ryder" during the pay-per-view. The Rock was talking. They cut him off with "We want Ryder." I mean, you can't really beat that.
Now, you were originally scheduled to take on Lord Tensai tomorrow night, but now with John Cena injured, the card kind of switched a little bit. There's some matches that have been changed around. Who are you taking on tomorrow night?
Tomorrow night, I'll be taking on Antonio Cesaro for the United States Championship, which is good for me because, I got a title shot, title opportunity, hopefully leaving with the U.S. title.
Somehow, I had a feeling you were going to say that, and I pray to God you beat this guy because I can't stand him.
Yeah, I mean, he's beaten me before. He beat me last week on pay-per-view, but his little girlfriend got involved. So hopefully this time, I got everything covered.
Now, how do you prepare for an opponent on such short notice? I mean, you're originally scheduled to take on Tensai, and then they tell you, hey, now you're taking on Cesaro, which obviously you've fought him before, so you kind of know. But how do you do that on such short notice?
The thing about WWE is you got to be prepared for everybody. We go Monday to Raw, we get to the building at 2 o'clock. We have no idea who we're going to be, wrestling. So you always got to be prepared, always got to be on your toes.
All right. And speaking of opponents, one opponent, past or present, that you've never faced before, who would you want to face off against?
I would have to say Edge. He was my mentor. He helped me so much, and I never got the chance to, have that match with him, like that teacher versus student match. I think it would have been awesome. It would have been great. And unfortunately, he had to retire due to a neck injury, so we never got to have that.
All right. And one final thing to anybody out there that's listening that maybe, because I know I've got friends out there that work for the independent organizations and stuff like that. And there's kids that are probably tuning in, maybe off school or whatever. What's the one piece of advice that you can give them if they want to get into professional wrestling, or for those that are in like an indie type thing that want to improve and move on to, let's say, the WWE? What's the one thing you can instill in them?
Wrestling has to be your life. It can't be, you can't just go to practice or do a couple shows and then live a normal life afterwards. It has to be on your brain. You have to be in the gym. You have to be eating right. You have to be working hard, sacrificing, dedicating your whole life to it. And that's the only way it's going to pay off.
All right. Well, Zack Ryder taking on U.S. champ Antonio Cesaro for the U.S. title tomorrow night at the Bryce Jordan Center. Good luck to you, man, and thanks for calling in today.
All right, thank you. Take care, all right?
Woo, 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 you know it.
Oh, radio, tell me everything you know.
This is WWE superstar Zack Ryder, and you're listening to Drew Shannon on 105.9 QWiK Rock. Woo, 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 you know it.